The queen who never bled. No one alive, human or alien, had ever seen Queen Zyra of the Veiled Dominion cry. Not once in the 8 centuries of her reign. Not when she shattered the Tri-Moon Rebellion with orbital fire. Not when her consort emperor died beneath an assassin's blade. Not when entire star systems surrendered at the sound of her name. Among her people, tears were considered a weakness long burned out by evolution. The Veileth were born under crushing gravity and twin suns. Emotion, they believed, was something that had to be mastered or erased. Queen Zyra embodied that belief perfectly. She stood over 7 feet tall, her obsidian exoskeletal armor grown directly from her skin, her eyes glowing faintly silver with neural light. Her crown was not forged but biologically bonded, a living symbol of command. Every movement she made radiated control, purpose, inevitability. She was not cruel. She was absolute. That was why the Galactic Concord feared her. That was why planets surrendered before her fleets arrived. That was why the word mercy was never spoken in her presence. And that was why the human soldier kneeling before her throne had already accepted that he would die. Captain Elias Rourke of the United Earth Defense Corps had been captured during the Battle of Narith's Fall, a disastrous engagement that humanity would pretend never happened. The Veileth fleets had torn through Earth's defensive line like predators through mist. Humanity's experimental cruiser, UES Valiant, had bought enough time for evacuation but paid the price in blood and wreckage. Elias had been among the last to be pulled from the burning hull, alive, which, to him, was worse. He was marched through the Veileth capital, Kirith Prime, a world of towering black spires and living architecture that pulsed with alien bioluminescence. Thousands of Veileth citizens watched in silence as the human passed, curiosity flickering behind disciplined expressions. Humans were rare here. Living ones were rarer. And prisoners brought before the queen? That had never happened before. Elias was stripped of weapons, but not dignity. His uniform was torn, his left arm bound in synth fiber, blood dried along his jaw. But he stood straight, because that was what soldiers did. The throne chamber was vast, circular, open to the sky through a crystalline dome. Stars burned above them like judgmental eyes. And at the center, Queen Zyra. She studied him in silence, not with hatred, not with contempt, with interest. "Human," she said at last, her voice echoing through the chamber without amplification. "State your name and function." Elias swallowed, then met her gaze. "Captain Elias Rourke, Infantry Command, United Earth Defense Corps." A murmur rippled through the council tiers. "A captain." Zyra tilted her head slightly. "You commanded the rear defense at Narith's Fall." "Yes." "You refused evacuation." "Yes." "You continued fighting after your vessel was breached." "Yes." Her eyes narrowed. "Why?" Elias didn't hesitate. Someone had to hold the line. That answer, simple, unadorned, did something strange. Queen Zyra felt it ripple through her neural lattice like a minor electrical fault. She ignored it. "Humans are known for emotional volatility," she said. "Fear, rage, attachment." Elias exhaled. "We're also known for stubbornness." That drew a reaction, not laughter, but a flicker of something dangerously close. Amusement. The council stiffened. No one amused the queen. "Do you fear me, Captain Rourke?" Zyra asked. Elias considered the question honestly. "Yes," he said, "but I won't beg." Silence fell again. The queen rose from her throne. She descended the steps slowly, deliberately, each footfall resonating through the chamber. When she stopped before him, she towered over him, an alien goddess forged for war. She reached out, guards tensed. Her fingers brushed his chin, lifting his face. She searched his eyes, not for weakness, for truth, and she found it. Something ancient stirred within her, an instinct long buried beneath centuries of conquest, recognition. You will not be executed, Queen Zyra said. The chamber erupted in shock. Elias blinked. Then what happens to me? Her hand lingered for half a second longer than necessary. You are mine now, she said, and somewhere deep within her chest, something cracked. The human who would not bow. Elias expected torture. He expected interrogation, neural scans, maybe dissection. What he did not expect was a private chamber overlooking the obsidian seas of Kirith Prime. Nor did he expect to be fed. Nor did he expect the queen herself to visit him every cycle. At first, their conversations were measured, strategic, philosophical. Zyra questioned him about Earth, its fractured governments, its art, its wars, its contradictions. Elias answered honestly. He spoke of oceans and forests, of music written for no purpose other than beauty, of soldiers who fought knowing they would never be remembered. She listened, really listened, and each time something inside her shifted. The Velith believed emotion we can command. Yet Elias spoke of loyalty not as obligation, but as choice, of courage not as dominance, but as endurance. One cycle, she asked him, "Why do your soldiers follow you?" Elias shrugged. "Because I don't pretend I'm better than them." That answer unsettled her more than any weapon. In Velith society, hierarchy was absolute. Queens were born, not chosen. Authority was never questioned. And yet, this human commanded loyalty without fear, without force. Zyra began to feel something she could not categorize. Not desire, not curiosity. A pull. It frightened her. She found herself standing at the edge of her chamber late into the dark cycle, staring at the stars, thinking of a human soldier who refused to kneel unless ordered, and even then, only physically. Emotion began to intrude in her decisions. That had never happened before. Part 3, Blood and Stars. The fracture came sooner than expected. A rival Velith faction, the Crimson Synod, launched a coup attempt exploiting the Queen's perceived distraction. Assassins breached the inner sanctum. Explosions rocked the palace. Alarm screamed. Elias was unarmed when the attack began, but he did not hesitate. When a Synod warrior burst into the chamber, Elias moved on instinct, using the environment, his body, his training. He killed the attacker with bare hands. Then another. He fought like a cornered animal, protecting something it refused to lose. By the time royal guards arrived, Elias was bleeding from half a dozen wounds. And Queen Zyra had been struck. A blade of crystallized plasma had pierced her side. She staggered, and for the first time in Velith history, she screamed. Elias caught her as she fell, held her weight, held her. "No," he whispered. "Stay with me. Don't you dare die." Her blood, silver and luminous, soaked his hands. And then her eyes filled with tears. Actual tears. They fell freely, shimmering like starlight. "I am afraid," she whispered, voice trembling. I do not understand this feeling. Elias pressed his forehead to hers. It's called being alive, he said, and you're not facing it alone. When the coup was crushed, when the palace was secure, when the council gathered, they saw their queen alive, wounded and weeping in the arms of a human. The galaxy changed that day. Part 4. The Choice. Velith law was clear. A queen who displayed emotional compromise was unfit to rule. The council prepared to invoke abdication. Queen Zyra summoned them herself. Elias stood beside her. Not behind, not below, beside. I will not abdicate, Zyra declared, nor will I deny what I have become. Murmurs erupted. She continued, this human saved my life, not for power, not for reward, but because he chose to. She turned to Elias. I choose him in return. Gasps echoed through the chamber. To rule with me, she said. To stand as proof that strength does not require the absence of feeling. The council protested, but the people watched. And they remembered the queen who never cried, until she did. They remembered the human who fought without obligation. The vote passed. Barely. Elias Rourke became something no human had ever been. Consort General of the Velith Dominion. And Queen Zyra? She ruled longer than any before her, not as an unfeeling conqueror, but as something far more dangerous. A leader who understood love. Epilogue. Tears among the stars. Years later, when peace treaties replaced war fleets, when Velith children laughed more freely, when humanity stood as ally instead of prey, someone once asked the queen if she regretted crying that day. She smiled. I regret only that I waited so long. And beside her, the human soldier who never bowed took her hand.